So not ready, but thank God it's not raining. I don't want any rain till like lap 5 because I feel that a track like this is better to have it dry for the start. Causes more chaos. This is going to be an incredible... It's Gordon Ramsay! I share a birthday with that man. He's also the greatest cook to ever exist. He knows how to cook food. Yeah, he's a chef. He's Gordon Ramsay. Why couldn't we get him on the grid walk? Why, Martin? Why couldn't you find him? Why couldn't you find him? He would have been great to have on the grid walk. So, 10 minutes till the race begins. Gordon Ramsay driving an F1, he'd be much better for team radio than actually driving, I get the feeling. George is down in what, P9? I wasn't able to watch qualifying yesterday, so I'm not 100% sure, but I think he's P9. Meanwhile, Lewis is in what, P3? No, P5? Oof. P8 for Russell. There he is. There's George. I don't know what to expect today. Can Carlos win his first race from pole? I'm rooting for Carlos right here, but I totally think Max and Carlos are going to do a repeat of last year at Cops. They're both going to collide at Cops Corner, and both will be out. And it's probably going to be a Perez win, because I think Leclerc is going to have a mechanical failure, because that car was being crowded around a couple of minutes ago. Ninth British Grand Prix victory if you could do it. It's a tall order. There might be some rain around. Silverstone is absolutely... Hey, if the rain comes, I know Max is good in rain, but George Russell has put on some great rain masterclass performances like Spa and Russia last year in qualifying. We know he could run well in the rain. But we'll see what happens. This race is going to be crazy. I think George could have a great day today. He's starting 8th. What do you think about a win? Max is P2. The nerves start to kick in at this point. The intro's about to play. The race is about to start. The pain. Oh, let me text Corey. Hang on 1 second. Okay. I've texted Corey. I want to see if he could call for this race that's bound to be good. I said the same thing about Baku, but I was completely wrong.
Celebrating 100 years of Centre Court at the Championships. Wimbledon. Today at 1 Eastern on ABC.
Tennis. I forgot that sport existed. That's like the rich sport. Exclusively by Mother's Pie. Here we go. Yeah, gotta do. Oh, this isn't it yet. Is that? No, that's not. Okay. George. Lando. I feel bad for anybody who has to start on those curved grid spots at the end. It must be a pain trying to get going.
It's where I grew up. It's the country I represent. it's where my family are.
Where you're not judged, where you can just be super casual and just be yourself. That's home.
Home to me means family, friends, the UK, Silverstone, I guess. My goodness, what a place to win!
It's just the best day of my life.
Corey's tight. What do you mean attempting to reconnect?
When it was COVID and we had the race with no fans, then, you know, it just feels empty.
It's always great to have something taken away so that you appreciate it even more.
Can we start?
Sport is nothing without fans.
The fans are just so passionate and excited for the sport. Being there at a home race is one of the coolest feelings that you can ever get.
That's
Here we
why it
go.
turns out to be the best Grand Prix.
I can feel it right here. There we go. The best intro in all of sports plays. I'm ready. I'm ready. This is about to beat 2019 as the best British Grand Prix ever.
And on this sunny Silverstone summer Sunday,
Probably just jinxed it, but
welcome
here
to
we
our
go.
home. Not just Martin and I's home, but the home of the Formula One World Championship.
You can turn it down for a
place
bit.
where it all began, where Ferrari weren't here on the 13th of May 1950, but they've been making up for it ever since. And where they start on pole today on a track where they've taken 14 victories in the past. It's Silverstone, it's British Grand Prix Sunday, and here's the circuit. 52 laps around this 3.66 mile track. 18 corners, 8 to the left, 10 to the right. 2 DRS zones along the Hangar Straight and along the Wellington Straight. It's windy and it's gusty, why not? It's an old airfield and it features some of the greatest corners on the Formula One calendar. Let's go back to...
I don't remember this battle.
Turns 1 and 2 are Abbey now. This is Perez. and
Perez
Magnus.
versus Kimi.
A terrific scrap as Perez dives down the inside.
Oh, is it going to show it? It's showing it. Oh, here we go.
Lewis Hamilton on the inside of Max Verstappen. Verstappen sent crashing out of the race. Hamilton picked up a penalty, went on to win the race. Verstappen arrives here this year with a 46-point lead in the World Championship. And Lando Norris and Fernando Alonso into the Vale chicane they go. The penultimate corners in this race. Lando holding off Fernando there. Could they have a similar battle at some stage today? There is spots of rain in the air, but it's a gusty day, and if it does rain, I dare say it's not going to last for long. So we're going to have the dry tyres to start with. They're the C3, the C2 and the C1. The favoured strategy, a one-stop strategy, but let's wait and see. Here's the starting grid for the 73rd World Championship British Grand Prix. Lance Stroll starts right at the rear alongside Mick Schumacher and both Aston
How about
Martins
Latifi?
for a second race in a
P10.
row. Sebastian Vettel starts
What a
alongside
legend.
the other Haas driver, Kevin Magnussen. 16th on the grid goes to Alex Albon, knocked out in Q1. Esteban Ocon with his worst ever Silverstone start starts 15th. Ahead of those, Daniel Ricciardo knocked out in Q2 for the third time in 4 races.
There hasn't been a British driver yet.
While ahead of those, Tsunoda's teammate Pierre Gasly.
All the British drivers are in the top 10.
Worst start here since 2014. Into the top 10, and Nicholas Latifi
Top
started
8.
10th for the second time ever. Joe Guan Yu for the second race running. His
George
best
Russell's
ever
the worst
start.
starting
George
British
Russell has the
driver.
best start here at Silverstone. He's 8th alongside Fernando Alonso, who was 7th on the grid last year. Lando Norris 6th on the grid alongside Lewis.
Is there only
Hamilton.
3 British drivers in the
Third
field?
row. Second row, Sergio Perez
There
with his
is.
best ever start here. And
Why did I
Charles
think there was like
Leclerc for the first
6?
time without grid penalties away from the front row this year.
Come on,
Max
Carlos.
Verstappen will start
Come on,
second,
George.
alongside
Come on, Charles.
Sainz, his 100th
Come on, Lewis. Come on, Lando.
starts on pole for the second
Anybody
race.
but
The
Max.
pole sitter begins his 150th race. You couldn't write that script, Martin Brundle. I don't know what the script writers have in store for us this afternoon, but this is the race we look forward to more than any, every year.
Absolutely.
last year, starting from second on the grid is quite handy. They see on any tyre they want. Mediums for pretty much most of the grid. Nicholas Latifi on the soft, but interestingly, George Russell on the hard compound tyres. So,
oh, George is playing around with strategy again.
Out there, but that'll give Max Verstappen a couple of 3 meters extra grip down into turn 1, and that'll get as soon as Carlos Sainz hears that.
Lots of smoke on the Red Bull Perez up there. There's no way that's brakes.
The extra traction of those soft compound tyres.
He's got it all to do now, starting on pole position. His team have had it all to do to get Charles Leclerc ready for this race. Ted Kravitz.
And they have, Crofty, and they have. So, Panic resolved a electronic control unit that wouldn't actually let the car fire up at all.
Here we go.
So it was mission critical to Charles Leclerc's race. And as we go 15 seconds now to the formation lap, the dance music is off. And we've just got the roar of 20 V6, 1.6 litre V6 engine. So here we go.
And Damian Lewis from the world of billiards comes to the world of Formula One. It's quite fitting that, I suppose. As away they go, and Max Verstappen in such a hurry to get on with it. It's already ahead of Carlos Sainz. He's going to have to let the pole sitter come back in it. A formation lap to get these cars all prepared and all in the right shape. And there's Nicholas Latifi starting 10th. Last time we did that was Belgium for the race that in the wet we had no overtaking. He's going to be right in the melee, and there's a lot going to be trying to make places early on here.
Yes, I'm not sure he's got a car that's fast enough to be in 10th place in dry conditions. Let's see, that might be underestimated. But he has got the new parts on that particular Williams. But as they leave the grid, you see people standing alongside the grid. They're obliged to stay on the pit lane speed limiter until they pass pole position. So 50 miles an hour, basically, is all they can do until, as you see so many people standing alongside the grid, if you were wondering.
So what do you make of this today then? From what we hear in the paddock, there are lots of people, lots of drivers going into this race who feel they've got quite a chance here. Carlos Sainz, he led 17 laps in Canada. He's never led more than that in his entire career. Max Verstappen knows what it's like to win from second. Charles Leclerc goes well here. Sergio Perez is a
The Grand Prix, scoring points, scoring a podium, race victories, a world championship, and Carlos is through a few of those cities, so he won't be intimidated being at the front or by actually his former teammate Max Verstappen.
Knock it off. This has been sitting in my room for 3 days.
Checo.
You seem to be in any hurry to
He
get it
starts on the
done.
medium compound tyres in the second Red Bull. But yeah, so I think he can handle it. He can handle the pressure up from there. If he can zoom around the outside of turn 1, but as we know, they can keep coming back at you on the first lap of this Grand Prix.
So 400,000 fans here at Silverstone across all 4 days. I'm told 142,000 fans in today. And it's been brilliant to see them streaming through the gates ever since we got here first thing this morning.
So the risk of rain was listed as same as VAT over here, 20%. But that's gone away now, apparently, sadly, unlike VAT.
Right. It'll be taxing nonetheless. For all involved here.
Just in time. Didn't know I owned that many clothes, but okay. Here we are, forming up on the grid. Who's gonna win?
Max Verstappen pointing pretty much straight ahead.
Come on, Carlos.
To make gains on the soft compound tyre going into the first corner. Lance Stroll still steadily making his way to the grid. Those front runners are going to be on the grid, standing stationary for some time.
Yeah, they're a long time forming up. So Anthony
I think I still have a cinder in my eye from yesterday.
looking on, and they were very disappointed in qualifying.
The most unwanted, most painful keepsake you could possibly get from a train. Here we go.
This is what we've all come to Silverstone for.
Here we go.
It's lights out and away we go. Sainz gets away well, as does Lando Norris.
No, Max is leading already. God damn it. Wait, how'd Lewis get up in the third? Oh, huge wreck! Car's upside down. Was that Guan Yu or Bottas? Red flag it, red flag it, red flag it. Someone's upside down back there. Oh, God. George, no! George is out of it. Oh my God, he got hit from behind. And Guan Yu's up and over.
Running over to see if he can help, maybe. No.
So we've also got the Alpha Tower.
Just a
Yuki
bunch of
Tsunoda
stocks.
involved. You can see the
Yuki's done. Well, actually, no, that might just be a front wing.
We've red flagged this race.
Is he good?
First time in a few years.
That's the second bad wreck today.
The first lap. Remember, Kimi Raikkonen went into the barriers at the start of the Wellington straight.
2 years in a row.
While they fixed the barriers. But we saw George Russell going
That's not good.
across the gravel. Joe Guan Yu involved.
Albon's out. This is a huge one.
Albon in the Williams. I wonder if Esteban Ocon is also involved. He's going
That was
very,
bad.
very slowly, Esteban Ocon, down the Wellington Straight currently.
Ocon was in it. Tsunoda, Russell,
Yuki Tsunoda,
Guan Yu, and
George
Albon
Russell, Joe Guan Yu,
look to
Esteban
all be
Ocon,
in it.
Alex Albon seem to be the drivers that have all been involved.
That was
in
fast.
this first lap incidents.
I think Guan Yu would be now. I think he would be okay if he just ran in the back of somebody and kind of flipped after that and just rolled. The thing I was worried about is he had a ton of speed. When he hit that gravel, did he like start barrel rolling or something, and did he like hit the wall? If he hit the barrier, I think that's gonna hurt a lot.
You then will have to start at the back. Somewhat irrelevant now at the moment.
Not a good start to this one.
That Joe Guan Yu is okay.
He might have to do it again as well if they call for a standing start.
Those hard compound tyres, remember, the less grippy tyres, but maybe had some other start issues as well. So I suspect that it might have been sort of 4 into 1 doesn't go into what is effectively almost a flat out first corner. So they must now stay in the fast lane, and we're under now the red flag procedures. That's where you see them, and they can work on the cars there. But if they have to trolley them back into the garage, you then, I think it's pit lane start at that point.
Yes, we will get going again, and when we do get going, there's the standing start option. But tyres obviously.
Well, that is not promising. I did not think it would take that short to have something like this.
For Joe Guan Yu and for George Russell.
They're probably not going to show Guan Yu until he's out of the car, which would at least probably be until he's flipped back over, I would think. Well, actually, Stroll got out at Bahrain while he was upside down. George is walking back. I assume he was checking.
First British Grand Prix as a Mercedes driver. His run of top 5 finishes ending at the first corner here today.
Yeah, I think he was running over to see if he could help. So the car is trapped between the protective barrier and the main Armco barrier. We await.
Wait, Guan Yu went over? From what I understood from that, Guan Yu went over the wall.
Putting the Alfa Romeo right and turning it.
Yeah, that was Guan Yu who rolled over. Bottas is still P9. Well, while we're on the topic of drivers moving up, Nicky is an 8th. Goat Tiffy is an 8th, but this is not good.
Carlos Sainz, Lewis Hamilton had got past Charles Leclerc, and he was dicing away with Charles Leclerc when the red
George is back in the car,
Alonso,
but I doubt he's going anywhere.
Sergio Perez and Lando Norris. Nicholas Latifi up into 8th place.
He won't be going anywhere.
Into 10th. Sebastian Vettel and Lance Stroll making moves along with Magnussen from the rear too. We can see Alex Albon's Williams. We can see George Russell's Mercedes.
I'll be right back.
News on Joe Guan.
Oh, that's worst case scenario. Here we are like 5 minutes after the wreck and there's still no news.
So they'll be able to restart.
Yeah, that's fabulous. Great.
Given a notice of the period of before the restart.
It took less time for Romain Grosjean to have an update when he wrecked. That's not good at all. Grosjean went through the barrier and exploded. He was dead, essentially. And it took them less time to get an update on him that he was okay. That is never good.
So whilst that 3-hour clock continues to tick down
And I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back, and the nerves are starting to actually kick in. Like, this is starting to get worse and worse.
Hello, Crofty. Yes, hello, Martin, everybody. So the damaged cars are being repaired at Yuki Tsunoda.
The stewards have said no further action on the start, but I doubt that's what anybody cares about right now.
Has gone down to the Alfa Romeo Sauber pit wall and asked whether they got a radio message back from Zhou Guanyu. And I'm afraid to say, because I'm stood on the other side of the pit lane, that I don't have an answer of what they said. But Gasly's got his answer and has now gone back to his pit wall.
Wait, do the drivers know what happened?
An ambulance going on to the main straight. You can probably see it.
Oh, well, that's just great. Yeah, this isn't good.
To the incident site. So, yeah, as soon as I get some information, or any of us do, I will let you know. But
I can give you a little bit of information, not just yourself, Ted, but everyone watching around the world. Zhou Guanyu is still in the car.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Dr. Ian Roberts from the FIA.
That's not good.
Team are working in quite a tight, confined space to try and do what they need to do, which is not exactly.
All right, I'm gonna think good thoughts here, and best case scenario at the moment is that radio communications were cut off because the car is obviously heavily damaged, and they just said they were in a confined space, so we can't get out of the car right now. That's best case scenario. So essentially, he's good, but he's stuck, so he can't go anywhere. You know, like when you flip in NASCAR, you can't get out of the car. Worst case scenario is... Also a good case scenario would be... I didn't hear anything about anybody rushing really quickly, and George did not look like he was shocked or stunned or like terrified in any way. The bad news is, yeah, this could be... Okay, I just got information. The car is pinned between the barrier and the grandstand. Yeah, the Alfa Romeo went over the wall. The thing flipped over the wall.
Long way to go in the Grand Prix, but of course the red flag has now been flown at this point of the Grand Prix.
That's not
I
good.
can give you some very good news.
Oh my God.
Is not only out of the car, he's been taken out of the car on a stretcher, but he is moving. And the news from the Alfa Romeo Sauber team is that he is okay. He's been extracted on a stretcher and is now out of the car.
Thank God. He's good.
Much good news.
He's good.
Relief as it is heartening for a wonderful young driver.
He's good.
As well, that he seems to be okay from what we are hearing currently. An incident involving.
Obviously, he's out of today's race, but. Oh my God! It is Montoya. That is Montoya. Yeah.
If you're just joining us, the race was red flagged as soon as those cars disappeared into the gravel, and the FIA doctor on the scene, the extraction team on the scene, and working successfully to get Joe Guanyu out of that Alfa Romeo car, and he is now being taken
now
to the ambulance, one of two ambulances.
Guanyu could still be okay here, because obviously Mick was taken out on a stretcher after the Jeddah crash earlier this year, and he was fine. But obviously, yeah, wow. Well, now that he's okay,
so we wait to
I kind of want to see what went down here.
Officials do their job well before any news of a resumption in this race. And as Martin was saying just a few moments ago, we have a 3-hour window for the race to be running in terms of 3 o'clock, the starting time. So we must be finished.
I'm going to take a guess and a prediction based on where the car supposedly ended up and how it floated out of the picture.
39 seconds.
He hit the back of Russell. He hit the left rear tire of Russell, probably flipped the car that way. When he hit that gravel, of course the car did the classic, it digs in and starts to barrel roll. That's just something that any car would do in gravel or grass. And that barrel roll launched it over the wall.
Did not finish of the year, and unfortunately in front of his beloved home crowd. So bad news there for Mercedes.
And Russell's out.
George Russell. As I was
But
pointing
Lewis
out,
is P3.
a lot of different tyre combinations on the grid.
Yeah.
And a few drivers struggling to get away anyway. So George still in his crash helmet, obviously.
There's no way George thinks he could get back in. Well, technically, if George could repair the car in the garage and get back out there, he would be a lap down, wouldn't he be? But is that allowed? Well, Earl, I bought the Indy cars online, I think. Obviously, I can't see much, but that car just looks like it's missing a rear... Oh, no, the wing is gone. Well, not gone, but it's heavily damaged.
Now you're saying I can't restart the race because I didn't come back under my own steam. But I think he was also being told there you need to go to the medical centre. So maybe there's been a G recording on the car that suggests.
We saw George, didn't we, in the background, going into the gravel. I believe he hit the barriers in any way, but I think your point is very pertinent, Martin. He would have struggled, surely, to get that car back without a huge amount of damage, given the rear tyres.
Yeah, yes, that would have. I think would have done some more damage. But anyway, you know, his car came back on a transporter. It will not be allowed to restart.
Oh, damn it.
Refire. A lot of these cars now, they use the battery pack, and they can fire the cars back up themselves, but that wouldn't have been easy to get back to the pits with.
So Kravitz, let's head back down to you.
Just called, hello Crofty, yeah, just called a quick shouted across the pit lane word with Fred Vasseur, the team boss of Zhou Guanyu, and I said, you know, is he okay? He said yes. I said, was he conscious throughout? And he says, I think so. So that is good news, not only for Zhou Guanyu and any impact or anything that might have you know, affected him health-wise, but also for the next race next week.
This might be a long break.
Have we seen any replay of
No,
bit
not at
yet,
all.
so we
Not
can
at all.
will understand. I just think it was the picture seems to be that it was just a tricky end to whatever spin or accident or crash or rollover that it was, and a tricky extrication. So yeah, lots going on down here in the pit lane. Further work continues on Esteban Ocon's car. It's quite a big job to change and fix the front right, which was fairly badly damaged on his car. Same for Yuki Tsunoda with the damage that he picked up as well. So that's the scene down here.
In my mind's eye, the car was upside down in the back of the picture when it went sliding at very high speed into the gravel trap. And
Yeah, the car was already upside down. He ran in the back of somebody and it just did that.
So they're now to extricate the car and put the barriers back together.
Obviously, you can't have that car still there in between the barriers when the race gets resumed, because everything has to be 100% safe and 100% as it was very much for the start of this race. As we had the year that Kimi Räikkönen caused the red flag here on the first lap, where they spent an hour putting in some new arm code, basically.
Yeah.
So 2014, was it?
I think it was a big crash, wasn't it, down the Wellington Straight? And then he basically punched a hole in the barrier, did Kimi. But so what we're looking
Didn't Kimi get hit by a Williams in that race too? Like right there in that crash?
Will be a warning to the teams about the restart time. Then they're into a procedure. They've got to have the wheels on a minute to go and be ready to go. They'll follow the safety car out of to the fast lane in the pits, and I believe the safety car will then come straight back in and we'll call a standing start.
And for the time being, it's a case of hurry up and wait.
It was Gasly and Russell who started the thing.
That the drivers can examine, can look at, but they'll all look at their...
Just saw a tweet on it. Looks like Gasly went for a move and Russell came across and cut him off, and they collided with Guan Yu and it turned him over.
The lights went out, and Charles Leclerc will be thinking,
So the blame looks to be on Russell a little bit there.
Sainz will be thinking, right, okay, he got me the first time. I need to try and...
Obviously I haven't seen it, but from what I just read from that, it looks like it's George's fault.
And I've managed to go and win races from it.
Yeah, so apparently Alex Albon's at the medical centre as well as Joe Guan Yu, cars 23 and 24 as it happens, and we're waiting for news on that. Karun, what more can you tell us?
Yeah, Martin, I came down to the SkyPad, we're waiting for the information, but I can tell you the truck has just come back with George Russell's car, and a flurry of Mercedes mechanics have come running out. They've been given the instructions to try and have a look at the damage. They're looking at the rear left. In fact, I'm standing right next to them now as they're trying to get...
Are they even allowed?
See if they can get the jack underneath it. They've got the trolleys here. There's about 8 mechanics around me. They've been given the instruction by their team to try and get the car ready while they argue the toss with race control. So,
Oh.
see what happens. I mean, I can see damage on the rear left. The floor is
Oh. They're fixing the car while they go to the race director and debate that they are allowed to get back in the race. Oh, smart. Smart.
Looking at Max Verstappen at the moment, and the blankets...
They just tarped the car. It's not going to rain, guys. They just don't want anyone to see it.
If you had the power, Martin, would you want to see more cars in this race? Would you say, yeah, okay?
Well, George could still get back in this.
To get that car fixed. Now the situation with Sergio Perez,
Unless the race director shoots down that idea.
Belgium last year, which gave Red Bull more than enough time.
Oh yeah, they were going to let Perez race last year. They let Verstappen race after he crashed on the on the warm-up laps in Hungary.
To the pits with suspension, wheels and bodywork. The cut-off point is you've got to come back under your own steam. And it's the same in qualifying, isn't it? If you stop at the side of the track, that's it. You're out of qualifying. And that's been a fairly clear dividing line for some time. In free practice, they will bring your car back, and if there's enough time, you can get it back out again. So what's going on with Lando's, some discussion there with Joe Bauer on what's going on with Lando. And normally they also let the lapped runners through. But of course there are no lapped runners because we didn't even get a lap of the race. They're allowed to pass through. But
there's Alex Albon's car. You can see
The nose is dead on Albon's car.
on the truck. Damage that he sustained to a Williams that had been upgraded for this weekend, and he was running all the new bits. His teammate Nicholas Latifi had the bit of it in qualifying, got into the top 10.
yeah, so what I think they're trying to do now is reorganise the running order and push the cars a little bit further down the fast lane. They stopped outside their own garages, of course, which are not actually in sequential order, are they, in terms of where the teams finished in the championship last year? Because here, to make sure the fans get a better view of the front-running team, shall we call them, they tend to be in the middle of the pit lane, don't they? So I think they're, and there we're seeing that the car is now out.
There's Guan Yu's car.
Look at the roll hoop. It doesn't seem the roll hoop looks like it's gone. To be honest on that, and I would imagine.
Yeah, I can't really see it. It's too small.
To the fence down there too.
Yeah, this will be a long repair if they have to repair the fence.
Tanks of fuel, over 100 kilograms of fuel in the car, and you can see there the witness marks as he's gone across the hard runoff area, which is normally enough to slow a car down, but that's when it's rubber side down. You know, when it's bodywork side down, they don't slow down too well.
So here is the race.
Here we go. Here we go. We got a replay finally.
The red and white Alfa Romeo. Nicholas Latifi gets
Gasly went for a gap. Oh, Russell just caught him in the wrong place.
Upside down onto the gravel, and then it flips.
Oh, he did. That's why he couldn't get out. That's why he couldn't get out. The car, the head of the car was in the barrier.
It was actually, Martin, upside down, as you can see. The roll hoop and the halo very much doing its job before the car digs in, and you do not ever want to see accidents like that.
Yeah, I think George was pulling to the left into the Alpha Tauri. That's tricked the Alfa Romeo.
That's crazy.
Over. Luckily, it lost a little bit of speed, going round and round and round into the gravel. As I said, it's always concerning them because you roll over hoop, digs into the gravel. We're told we're only seeing these replays. Now we know that he's okay.
Yes.
Just to reassure you. Yeah. So whether George got a little tap on his right-hand side, I don't know.
Pierre is equally to blame there.
So the centre of gravity of these cars is so unbelievably low that to tip them over is not easy.
Let's see. The gap is the thing that matters.
Is it Gasly that makes the contact?
Yeah. Basically, George
It's a racing incident.
and they pincered Gasly.
Gasly could have backed out there. I always thought the rule was if you're not halfway along, you don't have the right to the space yet. Oh, Albon. That was like Hungary, just there was another wreck behind it.
That have locked up in a lot of smoke, and trying to pick your way through that is not easy. Sebastian Vettel.
Oh, it was Seb.
And then that goes Alex Albon, I think, then makes contact with Esteban Ocon.
Incredible, we only lost at the moment 3 cars in this incident.
So here is Alex Albon now, and he gets the tap.
Pierre was mainly at fault there because he was not alongside him. So Pierre was the one who had to back out. Russell had all the right there.
So Yuki had a poor start, nearly bogged down.
If Russell came completely over into Guan Yu, that would have been his fault. But because Pierre turned George, it was Pierre's fault.
There's so many drivers getting a poor start, basically, and it's just a mixed.
George had every right to cut across right there.
Nothing he could do about it. He's already on the grass trying to get past the Alpha Tauri. Sees all the locks up, puts his brake.
The other good news in that incident is when it hit the catch fencing, which is there to protect the fans, of course. It went floor side into it and not halo and headrest side into it.
So they are told driver is okay. Just informed the message from race control. So Joe is okay. Thanks.
And you can hear the applause from the crowd as they see these pictures like us for the first time. And Joe Guan Yu, we're told, is okay after a horror crash. Really was.
No, Duo, you have to understand. If you're not halfway alongside a car, you don't have the right to the space. It's like last year at Silverstone. Max Verstappen, if he wanted, could have taken the racing line because Hamilton was never alongside. Last year, it was all Hamilton's fault that that wreck happened. Because Lewis just kind of drove in the side of him when he did not get the right to any room. Lewis should have backed out. That was the same thing pretty much for Pierre. Pierre should have completely backed out because he didn't back out enough though. He still ran into Russell. Doesn't matter how much he backed out. He still ran into him, so Gasly probably should get a penalty for that. 5 seconds, something like that.
It's not all showing up on the computer at the moment, but it makes it quite clear it's automated. But it's showing 17 cars, which is correct. But then Ocon and Co would be at the back of that. Okay, we'll wait and see if that's accurate or not.
And while we do that, let's head down to Karoon at the Skypad.
Thanks, Crofty. Yes, now that we know Joe Guan Yu is okay, we can show you from the helicopter first of all. So I'm going to pick these drivers out. You can see that there is Joe, there's George Russell, and that is Pierre Gasly. Further back, watch out, Sebastian Vettel, Alex Albon. So those are the 5 cars we're keeping an eye on. As the start gets going, George and Joe Guan Yu, as Martin
George
said,
got a horrible... It's because George chose the hard tires. That's why this whole thing happened. He couldn't get a good start because of the tires.
Straight away, gets through the gap in the middle, and as they get going, at this point...
Latifi! That was Latifi who went up the inside first before Pierre.
There is the pinch point. So we'll just go back a couple of frames.
Yeah, that's on Pierre.
But you can see George moves across from his line here. He's starting to move across to the left-hand side.
Right there. Pierre should have started to back out. Right there. That's all. Yeah, that's Pierre's fault.
Joe is obviously to the left-hand side, and the contact is made. So that's where that incident happened. We will go on board in a second to show you. But I just want to quickly point out that accident's happening there, up ahead. And Albon, clearly, as you said, Crofty, smoke, and he's reacted. He's backed out of it. And Sebastian Vettel's gone into the back of him. I think also the Alfa Romeo, the other Alfa Romeo of Valtteri Bottas, who was in front in this red car here, he's first slowed down. Albon's had to react to him. Vettel can't see that Bottas has slowed down, and he's gone to the back of Albon, which has sent Albon with a big impact into the barrier there on the right-hand side. The concrete wall he's gone into.
The worst part about all this is Gasly's still in the race. Like, come on, man.
Gasly's gone for that same gap there, and watching his
Gasly should have backed out the second he saw George cut across.
It's a horrible feeling as a race.
He did back out, but there's nothing he could do.
There's nothing.
But still, that's kind of...
And he can't really back out of it because then he'll get hit from behind. And big impact we see there, Joe going upside down, and I'm very, very glad to hear he's okay. Let's watch it from George Russell's start. So he knows he's made a poor...
It's more of a racing incident now, but it's not George's fault.
And now, this is the interesting point, right? So, this is where George is. You can just see the front wing here of the Alfa Romeo alongside him there. And as we go along, he's made the contact. So, it's, yeah, it's one of those things. The start line incident is quite hard to you know, it's one of those things. 3 into 1 doesn't go. But, yeah, again, just watch George's hands. He's there, and now looks in the left mirror. That is critical. He's looked at watch his head, and he's just taken a look in the left mirror there, and starts to move across to the left-hand side. And I think he's underestimated. He's completely underestimated that Gasly was coming up at high speed, and unfortunately, they've made contact. So, yeah, there you go. That gives you a little bit of an insight.
Thanks ever so much indeed.
Yeah, my mind isn't changing. That's still on Pierre. George Russell had every right to come across. You could shove him off the track, it wouldn't matter. Because it would be on the driver who gets shoved off if they didn't back out.
There seems to be some sort of confusion about why race control have decided that actually it's going to be Carlos Sainz starting the restart.
Huh? Sainz is restarting
Lewis
first?
Hamilton, who made a great start up from 5th, is going to be back to 5th. He was 3rd after, wasn't
Oh,
he?
they're restarting the race in the order they were in?
Max Verstappen is going to be dropped from the lead back down to 2nd.
Trust me, I've asked these questions to the FIA as well because I'm not.
I'm going to determine this all. George Russell made his one defensive move on the start to cut across. Exactly. Yeah, Russell shouldn't have to back out of a move because Pierre Gasly has half a front wing in there. That's
clear before the red flags, which came out very, very quickly.
yeah, but Duo, you're allowed to do this.
That's the only thing I can think of right
It's on the car behind if you get hit.
They came back to the pit lane in.
However, my logic would be on that yes, we weren't racing up until the point of that first sector, but the cars certainly went through that first sector timing beam, as it were, albeit under red flag conditions, when by that stage they wouldn't have been able to overtake and would have had to have stayed in stationary file and go slowly. So this is how the grid would look. I've got the
George came across, but he had every right to do it. Gasly should have been the one to back out. He tried, but he couldn't. It's a racing incident. It's as simple as that. But the blame is on Pierre.
Then Norris, Alonso, then Latifi, Gasly and Bottas, Tsunoda, Ricciardo, Ocon, Magnussen, Vettel, Schumacher, Stroll. That would be the order for the restart.
And I can confirm that that is the order, that everybody in a confined space in the pit lane has had to shuffle the cars, apart from the top 6 or so. Everybody else has had to shuffle their cars, and the poor Aston Martins, who took advantage of the chaos.
You get one defensive move. George made it because Pierre was not half a car length alongside. He did not have any right to any room there, and it would be Pierre's fault if a wreck started because of that.
Thank you very much, Ted Kravitz. A few of you may have seen on social media that on that first lap, when we had the red flag, I should say, there were several people who were tempted to enter the track here at Silverstone. Those people were immediately removed. The matter is now being dealt with by the local authorities. There was Northamptonshire Police saying intelligence that some were here at Silverstone intent on disrupting the British Grand Prix. It seems that a few got onto the track. Their efforts came to absolutely nothing. The race had been red flagged by that stage, but to enter a racetrack, whatever your cause, seems to me to be utterly ludicrous.
Was the red flag just incredibly lucky in that respect? Because to sit around a blind corner where the cars come through at 190 miles an hour, 300 kilometers per hour, you're putting everybody at risk at that point.
Not just yourselves, but those that are racing out on the track as well. But the matter, as I said, now been dealt with by the local authorities. Let's head back down to the paddock. Simon Lazenby.
Yeah, still awaiting a restart time, aren't we, from race control. Let's bring in Damon and Jensen, who are watching that alongside me, to get their views on the incident. All I will say is it was when you have a look at it, it was right at the top of the catch fencing. It was really lucky it wasn't any lower, otherwise that could have been incredibly dangerous.
Yeah, it was one of those accidents that everything has just gone wrong up until the point where he's okay. So he's upside down here. Already it's unusual to be upside down. These cars don't flip over that easily these days. And it's just kind of dug in and then
Alright, I'll be right back.
off of the first race. That's really unusual.
You've been in that
Great.
situation, I'm sure.
Spammers.
You get squeezed like Gasly.
Oh, hi.
It must be
It's me.
unnerving. You think, I've got my front end in here.
We're not here for me, though.
I had a basic rule of thumb, which
Hang
is
on.